entertain!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Whiskey Jedi podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining me this evening. I hope everyone is doing great out there. It's a Monday. We are at the start of the week. And yes, I'm getting a show in on a Monday, which feels very odd because this used to be POV's day. So it's a little bittersweet today, if I'm being honest. It takes me back to a lot of times where we used to podcast on a Monday night. But that is because I missed last week. Very, very busy. But I'm back, ready to talk a ton of things. There's not enough space on my rundown to talk about everything. So we have kind of delegated certain things for this week. And I already have a show planned out for the next show that I want to do. But that will always end up getting pushed if there's any kind of big news happening. But yeah, look, I'm excited to be back. It's Monday. Unfortunately, Sacramento's being hit a little bit more with heat. We had a nice little cool week, and then it was like a joke, like, hey, poof, here's another heat wave for you. So we're back in one of those. Weekend was a bit crazy, seeing if that is a little too far out, and that camera angle is definitely a little too far out. I don't like how close I am at times, so I'm testing things. It's just that if I get too far back, I'm away from my desk. It's almost like I need to put the camera on the wall because it's mounted on my my computer right now, and it's almost like I just need to push it back up against the wall. But we'll figure that out another day. So, yeah, John Pierce, hello. Derpy Entertainment, what's up, man? Thank you for joining me. I haven't seen you here, so I'm not sure if you've watched on the playback or if you know me from another show, but happy to have you here. Booze, what's up, my dude? Yeah, look, a lot of cool things happening in the world of comic book movies, really. Unfortunately, but for most of you, you guys know how much I love to talk about a majority of films, a variety. It's just so happened that this week is so heavy on the comic book stuff. So, we're going to run down Marvel. We're going to run down DC, everything in the world of those projects, just because there's so much happening currently in those. TV shows are airing, casting announcements are being made, trailers are being dropped. So a lot of that is happening tonight. So that won't always be the case, but for this evening, it definitely is. And for tonight, as you can see here on the overlay, I'm pairing the conversation with Larceny Small Batch, which I have actually never had. I have always wanted to have this whiskey. I've never, ever gotten it. We went to, it was my wife's sister's birthday over the weekend. And we have a local mart that is absolutely fantastic when it comes to craft brews and all kinds of alcohol. And of course, they have a massive shelf regarding whiskey. And it was $25. And so, of course, I grabbed a bottle and knew it knowing I had a show. And so I want to do it. I just want to point out that this image is wrong. I grabbed the best looking image on Google and I used it. So that is not the correct whiskey. This is the small batch. It's a 92 proof. Barrel date was March 31st of 2014, which is pretty cool. So yeah, Larceny, Kentucky straight bourbon. Never tried it. We're going to pour a glass. Enjoy the conversation tonight. Hope everyone is doing good out there. It was a hell of a weekend. I think I mentioned that. My sister owns essentially what is known as like a wedding business. And she rents out a dance floor and a bar. And I am manual labor to her. So I was busy Saturday and Sunday doing that. I am a little sore, but I am excited to be here. So, yeah, Derpy, just celebrated my recent birthday, and I got a new shirt for the Superman 2013. Well, happy belated birthday. Thank you so much for being here. Superman 25, man. I'm starting to like we're a long ways off, but I think that movie is going to be very, very special. But we'll talk about that definitely once that movie gets a little bit closer. So, John Pierce, I've seen it, but never had it. I'm on Buffalo Trace tonight. You can never go wrong with Buffalo Trace, man. I need to get another bottle. I actually ran out. I drank it. So I got to get another bottle. But yeah, so look, we have a lot of exciting things tonight. I'm not going to take too much time up top on Agatha and Penguin because those are going to be week by week, right? It's not something that I'm going to talk about once. It's going to kind of be a continuous conversation. And I'm just going to quickly go over my thoughts over both shows because they both premiered last week in back-to-back days, which is pretty cool. Comic book fans eating things up right now, which is very, very exciting. If you can't tell, I got my lights back. I found the outlet, the plug, and I'm very excited, happy to have them back. I'm probably going to rearrange them because they were set up for how I had my background beforehand. And I think I now have an official idea of what I'm going to do with my background. I have not enacted it yet, but I'm going to be changing it at some point. I'm very excited to do so. That will come. You guys will probably see the transformation over like a couple of shows, but we'll see. We'll see. Big G, what's up? Thank you so much for joining me. I still have to watch The Penguin. I won't go into spoilers for both of those shows because they're so early on, so you don't have to go anywhere. So just heads up. And then look, we got a Green Lantern casting, which we'll talk about. We got a Thunderbolts teaser, which we'll talk about. And then the big topic of this evening is I'm going to be ranking the Batman live action films. Live action / Lego. I included Lego in there because you got to include Lego in there. And this will include all of his appearances. So things like The Flash and the Justice League movies, Batman v Superman, etc. You guys get the gist. Suicide Squad's in there. So we're going to rank the Batman movies a little bit later on, and I'll make sure I get to that pretty quickly. So, all right, let's go ahead and get the show going. As I mentioned just a few moments ago, Marvel and DC both dropped a show last week. Agatha All Along, which is the pseudo sequel to WandaVision, which came out in 2021. Catherine Hahn returns as her character Agatha Harkness. We get a bunch of other characters in the show as well, a bunch of new faces inside the MCU. And then on the flip side, the Penguin, Colin Farrell, finally premiered this pseudo sequel, if you will, to the Batman, which takes place just a week after the Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves film, which is very exciting. So let's go ahead and start with Agatha. I'm going to take a sip of this Larceny, see how we feel about this Larceny real quick. Not too shabby. For its price point, not too shabby. Look, Agatha, I wasn't overly excited for this show. Like, I was looking forward to it. Of course, I was going to watch it like I do all the MCU shows, like I do all the DC shows, really like I do all television because I watch an enormous amount of television. But I wasn't like, oh, man, I cannot wait. I'm going to be sitting on the couch at 6 o'clock Wednesday night to watch this show. So I got home on Wednesday night. I believe we were a little busy, and I popped the first episode on only. And I got to say, I was I'll put him on my phone. I took the iPad to watch Monday Night Football while I stream, and we used the iPad to watch our son at night. And so Gabby came here to grab the iPad, and she was like, oh, yeah, it's Monday Night Football. So, yeah, you know, that happens. So, look, I sat down and watched the first episode. I didn't get to watch them back to back, but I watched the first one. I ended up watching both of them, but just a little backstory. I thoroughly enjoyed the first episode. And that it also happens to be with the second episode as well. But I was shocked at how much I actually enjoyed the show. Because I didn't really know where it fit in and like what was the end goal to it all, right? And that's still kind of up in the air. But Catherine Hahn is clearly just like perfect as this role. She really understands how to play this version of Agatha that they have created. They've surrounded her with some brilliant names. Aubrey Plaza being one of them. We got a bit of her in the first episode. She's great. I need to understand more of their relationship because they have a history. But I loved the feel and the vibe of it all. Not only that, but I really thought the show did an incredible job of catching us up of everything that has been happening since WandaVision. That was the biggest thing it had to do, was catch us up of everything that's been going on since the final moments of WandaVision, when Wanda essentially wiped her mind, cursed her, made her Agnes instead of Agatha, right? Where she doesn't understand who she is. We get to all of that in this episode, which I thought did a really good job as far as pacing, as far as giving the viewer enough information to not feel overwhelmed, but also not underwhelmed. So I was very satisfied with how they told that. And then we get into the second episode where she's essentially assembling her coven, meeting all of these different characters. I'm very intrigued with what's going on at the moment. I'll say that. I'm very intrigued with the Witch's Road. I'm intrigued with the 7 spirit things that are after them. I'm just intrigued with a lot of things going on because the magic realm is so interesting to me and how they're going to handle it for not just Agatha in general, but Marvel overall, right? Because Scarlet Witch, magic realm. Doctor Strange dabbles in it, right? His is considered the magic realm. So there's a lot going on in the magic realm, and Agatha definitely is a big part of that. Not only Agatha, but Aubrey Plaza's character as well, which we'll learn more of down the road. So I was I was like shocked at how much I actually enjoyed the first 2 episodes. And that's a good start because you want to enjoy. I think I've always said this is with television. I've always kind of had like a 2-episode rule. If I'm not digging it or like into it, even by the slightest in the first 2 episodes, I'm usually out of it by then. Like I have a 2-episode rule of like, okay, I've given it enough time. I'm okay. I'm in. Like I'm interested in where it's headed. And then you flip to the other side of the program and you go to the Penguin. The Penguin just dropped one of the single greatest series premieres of all time. I don't know where it ranks. I'd have to look at an entire list and it would take me forever to consider that. But it was one of the best opening episodes of a show that I have seen in recent memory. There was a show recently that I claimed as like the best opening to a show ever, and I can't remember what that show was, but I'm fully in on everything they're doing with Oswald Cobb, which was in the news this week. I'm fully in on this idea of the underground Gotham, the criminal side of Gotham. I mean, we always have been, but this is a full look at everything criminal Gotham, which I love. Christine Melody is fantastic. She is so good. And I've only ever seen her in comedic roles, and to see her embody this character is awesome as Sophia Falcone. Yeah, I love how dark and gritty and grounded and intense and violent the show is. It's everything I hoped it would be, but I didn't realize that they'd actually be going there. And what's funny is I should have understood that because of how the Batman was. I've said it before. I will continue to say it. The Batman is arguably, actually not even arguably, the Batman is my favorite Batman movie of all time. I think it's the best. Spoilers for my ranking. And so this show had a lot to live up to with the Batman. And so far, so good. Like, so far, so really good. Colin Farrell as this character is absolutely incredible. The accent, the way that he walks, the physicality of the character, how he moves, how he talks. It's just so good. It feels very old school. It feels very, very old school in how they're telling the story, how it looks, how it feels. I know that it's set a little bit farther back, but that's not even what I'm talking about. It just feels very original, which I love. And it doesn't feel like it's in the world of Batman, which is the biggest thing going for it, because they've 100% honed in on the fact that, boom, that we're not doing that. Like, he's not coming into this. This was Oswald's show. This is these characters' show. We don't need Bruce Wayne or Batman to carry this show. We're going to let Colin Farrell carry this show as the Penguin, which I love. So both have started off great. The Penguin has started off absolutely fantastic. I'm very interested in seeing where they go with Agatha, and I love that it's week to week. I love that we're just getting an episode week to week to week. So, huge applause for both of them. All right, let's go and shift gears. Sticking with DC, though, this one's going to be quick. We got an announcement of who is playing Hal Jordan today. Came earlier this morning from Deadline. Deadline dropped the news that Kyle Chandler, Friday Night Lights, Zero Dark 30, Manchester by the Sea, Mayor of Kingstown, most recently the King Kong films, or Godzilla versus Kong, I should say. He is just in that one. He's mentioned in, or no, he's actually appears briefly in Godzilla X Kong. Yeah, Kyle Chandler will be portraying Hal Jordan for James Gunn in the DCU. Super, super cool. Completely out of left field. Just like out of nowhere. Yes, he was in Super 8 Booze. You are correct. No one saw this casting coming because of the names being thrown around, right? You had Brolin, Josh Brolin apparently denied, turned down the role, which I'm okay with because he's played so many major characters. He's also in the Dune franchise, but I would love to see him back as Cable in Marvel if that ever happens. He played Jonah Hex way back then. He played Thanos. He's had his time in the comic book realm. So I would have loved to have seen him as the character, but I'm okay with him saying no. I love the casting of Kyle Chandler. And there's multiple reasons why. One, he's not a massive name like a Josh Brolin, Matthew McConaughey, Ewan McGregor. He's not that big of a name, right? He's a recognizable face, but he's not a recognizable name. People who watch things like Friday Night Lights or Manchester by the Sea or any of those things that he's in know who I'm talking about. But the majority of people who are going to be watching these shows, the average audience, when you say Kyle Chandler, they say who? You show a face, they're going to recognize the face. So you don't have this enigma behind the role, right? Like, for example, you don't have like Sam Jackson behind Nick Fury. You have Kyle Chandler playing Hal Jordan, who is Hal Jordan, not Kyle Chandler. And I love that. I love that he's going to be able to bring this character to life without people going, okay, am I seeing Kyle Chandler or Hal Jordan? They're going to be seeing Hal Jordan. 2, he's incredible. He does not get enough credit as an actor. He has been in so many incredible projects over the years and never like the leading man. And he's finally going to get a chance to lead and be the main face of something, which is so exciting. Let me just go ahead and read some of the like major projects he's been in. I mentioned a few. So Friday Night Lights, he was in for a long time as Coach Taylor, essentially the main lead of the show. He was in Bloodline, which is a Netflix show, which had a massive first season. Linda Cardellini was in that as well. Manchester by the Sea, what I mentioned. Mary Kingstown, what I mentioned. Super 8. He plays a character in Game Night. He's in The Wolf of Wall Street. I mentioned the Godzilla films. He's in the Peter Jackson's King Kong. He's in Hulu's Catch-22, Zero Dark 30. He's in a romantic comedy with Miles Teller and Shailene Woodley's Spectacular Now. He was in Carol. He's in First Man, Damien Chazelle's First Man. He was in Argo, Ben Affleck's Argo. I mean, the dude is everywhere. He's in so many The Kingdom with Jamie Foxx. He's in so many incredible projects, but he's never been the lead. And now he gets to be the lead. He gets to be the Green Lantern. He gets to be legendary Hal Jordan, because the whole idea of this Hal Jordan, which I've kind of been against from the beginning. Not again. I wouldn't say against. I've questioned from the beginning, because I would love to see Hal Jordan in his prime. We're going to be seeing Hal Jordan after his prime, where he's reached God status, essentially, where he is legendary Hal Jordan, right? He has a reputation. He's been space copying the cosmos for decades now. And it's Jon Stewart's time to step in for Earth right? And lead as Earth's protector. Hal Jordan is off to a bigger role, and so we're going to be seeing this older character as kind of a mentor. That Kyle Chandler fits that perfectly. He's been a mentor in many of the projects he's done, mainly Friday Night Lights. He was a head coach for a high school football team. And I'm not saying it has any kind of, correlation, but he fits the role so much better than what people are saying. Because I have seen a lot of people kind of pushing back on the idea. And I think it's just because of the names that were thrown out there and who people want to see as this character, being that it's Hal Jordan, one of the biggest superheroes to ever exist, especially for DC. And so I think it's a really smart move. Kyle Chandler is a big enough name in my eyes. He's not superstar status. He's not a movie star. As I mentioned, he's not recognizable, but he's a big enough name to carry the show 100%. And now you get to cast someone alongside him as Jon Stewart, because they have not casted Jon Stewart, who you could put as an A-list actor, right? People love the name John David Washington for Jon Stewart. John Boyega's name's been thrown out there. Taye Diggs' name's been thrown out there. There's a lot of names that are like massive, massive names that could go alongside Kyle Chandler, and they wouldn't be butting heads for screen time, essentially, right? And I love that, because in reality, if the DCU is going to run for 15 years, 20 years, based on the age they're telling the story, Jon Stewart's going to be around a lot longer than Hal Jordan will be. So it would make sense to grab a big name for that role than it would Hal Jordan. Not saying Kyle Chandler's not a big name, but he's not a Josh Brolin, Ewan McGregor, Matthew McConaughey. He's not. Which those were the three rumor names that we've been talking about for weeks now. So yeah, I'm thoroughly behind the choice. I love it. I really think it's a strong choice. I can't wait to see him in that suit. It's going to be awesome playing this character. I'm very, very happy for him. He definitely deserves a role like this, and I can't wait to see it. I think James Gunn is definitely pulling off great moves so far, and this is one of my favorites so far. 100% one of my favorites so far. All right. Let's go ahead and shift gears back to Marvel. We got surprised this morning with the teaser trailer for Marvel's edition of the Suicide Squad. You have the Thunderbolts, which is an awesome comic run. Some really good characters join this crew, as we see in the comic books. But we obviously have our MCU version, which is very different. Actually, let me go and see if I can bring up the poster. Let's see. Just so we have it. If it loads. Oh, you dum-dum. All right. I think I have to zoom out just so we have this while we're talking. Where'd it go? So Thunderbolts is led by Yelena Belova, who is played by Florence Pugh, obviously. I'll share this right here. There we go. Can't see me, but actually you should be able to. Let's do this. So Florence Pugh, Yelena Belova, she is kind of considered like the main lead, if you will, the team captain. And then you have Bucky Barnes in there. You have Taskmaster, who has a new face, or new mask, the white mask down there in the bottom right-hand corner. You have Red Guardian, David Harbour, which is fantastic. You have Ghost returning, which I love seeing after Ant-Man and the Wasp, seeing her back as this character. And then you have Mr. John Walker, played by Wyatt Russell. That is the main team. Now, this character, for those who don't know, the character is going by Bob, which is 100% a play at Top Gun Maverick of Lewis Pullman's character named Bob. But Lewis Pullman is bringing to life the character named Sentry, who is a massive, massive, powerful character in the the Marvel universe, and they are introducing him in this film. And the fact that he's on the poster is quite a big deal. It makes me very, very excited to see what they're doing with this character and the plans they have for him. But what a stacked roster. Like a very fun, interesting team that is going to butt heads 1,000%. And we got this first look teaser. And yes, I did watch the teaser because it's just a teaser. I didn't watch the trailer. I'm not going to watch the trailer like I've kind of vowed to, but I want to make sure I'm giving enough to you guys as far as content and like the things that are happening. And I know people are talking about the Thunderbolts. And so look, we didn't get like everything. It showed a little bit. And I think the things that I took away from this are, one, I think that this is going to be some of the best action we see in a Marvel movie because the characters warrant that type of action. They're very, like, yes, some of them are super powered. Like Ghost has some incredible powers. Taskmaster is obviously a very interesting character of how they get their powers. Sentry being the most powerful of them all. But they all have some type of ability outside of Yelena Belova, right? Red Guardian, I guess, has a little... I mean, he's strong, but that's kind of about it. They're very kind of grounded, gritty, like hand-to-hand combat type characters. And that is exciting to me, right? That's fist to pavement type of stuff. And I love that. Like John Walker, right? He's strong, but he's got the shield. He's got guns. Bucky Barnes, he's incredibly strong and he's got insane experience. He's got a metal arm, but he uses guns and his fists. So like, I'm super excited to see the action in this. I'm not saying it's going to be like this, but we could be seeing action very similar to something like the Winter Soldier, right? Where there's not very many super powered beings in the movie, and they're having to use old school style of guns, hand-to-hand combat, and use their wits against each other or against the villain. Big G, yes, he is a super soldier, but a little older, kind of run down, which is what I was kind of alluding to. But yes, you are correct. He's a super soldier. So yeah, I think that the action is my biggest takeaway right now. We've seen some great action with Yelena so far in the couple of projects we've seen here. Obviously, Bucky, right, in all of the films that he's been in, not just the Avengers films, but Winter Soldier, Civil War. He's been in a lot of great projects. Him and John Walker in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there was some great action in there. So I just think that that's the biggest thing going for this. This could be like Marvel's like action staple franchise where it's very serious, old school kind of action compared to the superhero mayhem we get in all of the other movies. And that's what excites me the most. That really is what excites me the most with this film. But I'm also extremely excited to see these characters bounce off of each other. I think that there's such an eclectic group of characters that I never would have expected coming together. Like, I never would have expected seeing Taskmaster and John Walker coming together, Agent 13, or Ghost and Yelena. Like, that's something that I never would have thought of before. And so seeing them together is going to be very, very exciting. And I said that it's, Marvel's Suicide Squad, which it's very different, obviously. They're not like villains per se, but they're anti-heroes is the best way to put them. Outside of Bucky, who's transformed into a hero, he's 100% a hero. I think Yelena is pretty much on that path as well after the events of Hawkeye and the kind of emotional damage that she went through. But John Walker, from the last time we saw him, wasn't really on good terms. Ghost, the last time we saw her, right, she was kind of misunderstood, but not really on great terms. Same thing with Taskmaster. So I think this is a very just type of anti-hero squad that gets me very interested to see what it's all about. The banter is got to be some of the biggest things going for it. Not like their responses, but just how they bounce off of each other. Because they're such different characters. So yeah, those are some of my biggest takeaways. And then I think the one that everyone is talking about is, and it hasn't been officially confirmed, But if they've taken over Avengers Tower, we see a shot of them with Val in a skyrise that looks very similar to Avengers Tower. So now the theories are that she bought Avengers Tower and she's going to be running Thunderbolts out of Avengers Tower, which could be a very interesting play. I mean, everyone thought that Baxter's, right, that it would become the Baxter building, which it very well could in the future. But from what I'm understanding and currently everything in the MCU is that Reed Richards, Sue Storm, and company don't exist on this Earth. That they don't exist on 616, which means that there will be no Baxter building. It seems like they exist on other planets, other universes, but not ours. And so I think there's a very, very high chance that this was bought by them for the Thunderbolts, and they'll be running out of the Avengers Tower. And Big G, that's a good point because Oscorp could be funding the Thunderbolts. We don't know. It could be the Oscorp building, and they could be funding the Thunderbolts, which would be even a bigger revelation down the line for someone like Spider-Man. If Oscorp popped up in New York, kind of took over as the main building, right? Especially an ex-Avengers building that has connections to someone like Peter Parker. Could be interesting. Could be interesting. Either way, we know that Val is currently running out of some major building. Let's just, for the moment, say it's Avengers Tower. And she is bringing the Thunderbolts together to fight something, right? Nothing has been confirmed, which is why I'm saying that. It could be Sentry, could be something else. We don't know. The poster leads me to think that it's not Sentry, but could be smoke and mirrors. So, could be smoke and mirrors, but we'll see. But so far, so good for Thunderbolts. Look, I'm very much looking forward to this. I really am. I think the MCU has been missing a movie like this. The Captain America movies were always kind of this for the MCU. Alongside even the Iron Man movies in a way, right? It was superhero-ish, but he didn't have superpowers. We've been missing a grounded, serious, intense type of film in the MCU since Endgame, kind of ended that series of everything. It's been the Shang-Chi's and the Doctor Stranges and the Black Panthers and, a lot of very superpowered stuff. Yes, we had Black Widow. That was very early on. Very, very early on. But we've had the Marvels and Miss Marvel and Loki and Moon Knight. It's been super, super, super powered since then. And this is a chance for it to kind of get back to some original roots, which is very, very exciting. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. This and Captain America, Brave New World are in this vein. Although Brave New World is dealing with Red Hulk, Eternals, Adamantium, which is very, very big. This is kind of a little bit more on the smaller side, which I love. But yeah, we'll talk more about that as it draws closer and as we get more information. Sorry, I'm just switching the games. Bills just absolutely destroyed the Jaguars. So now I'm going to the Bengals Washington game, which Jaden Daniels, bravo, sir. Bravo so far. Might make the Bengals 0-3. My goodness. All right, let's go and get into our final topic of the evening. Let's go ahead and rank the Batman movie franchise. And as I mentioned, this will include all Batman movies that he has appeared in live action plus Lego. But I'm not including the Lego movie. I will say that. I'm not including the Lego movie. I'm including just the Lego Batman movie. Someone is texting me right now. Oh, it's my group chat, my boys chat. Sorry, I'm trying to make a trade as one of my pop figures just falls. I will say this. I have the Valkyrie pop from Ragnarok. She will not stand up. She won't. She will not stand up. All right. Batman movie franchise ranking. Paul Sally, what's up, man? Thank you so much for joining me. I was blown away by the Batman. I loved how gritty it felt. Pattinson's portrayal of Bruce in his early years was absolutely phenomenal. It left me wanting more. My favorite Batman movie was as well, Jake. 100%, dude. Thank you. 100%. Sorry, I'm trying to make a trade on the side, guys. Fantasy football. All right. Let's do this. Let me go ahead and bring up my screen. So I am not doing this as I've done this previously, where I have done this on movie tier. I'm actually going to do this on my Letterboxd. We're going to do this on my Letterboxd. So there we go. So right now, let me go ahead and do this. So they're not in order right now. I randomly added them. Let me go ahead and just do this. They're not ranked at the moment. So they are unranked for this moment in time. So we're going to go ahead and rank these. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down. Actually, you know what? Let's start from the bottom. Let's make it more interesting. Let's start from the bottom and put them where I think they would be. And this is going to be interesting, guys. I got to say. This is going to be super, super interesting. So, where'd my... I'm going to have to do this, aren't I? This is going to be annoying. I need the mover. There we go. I tried to line it up perfectly to where it was like no bars at the top, but hey, it is what it is. All right. So let's start with Suicide Squad. This is going to be tough. Yeah, let's start with Suicide Squad. Okay, Suicide Squad right now, I'm going to leave exactly where it is. I'm going to leave exactly where Suicide Squad is right now because in my opinion, it's one of the worst. It was one of the worst DCEU movies we had ever gotten, which includes the appearance by Batman where he is chasing down Harley Quinn and Joker. Ben Affleck's Harley Quinn. So for the moment in time, I'm going to leave exactly where it is. Now, we're going to go to Batman Forever. Batman Forever, 1995. I'm going to also leave that exactly where it is because it's better than Suicide Squad. It's like far better than Suicide Squad in my opinion. Like, yes, we talk about the old school, movies with Batman, but Val Kilmer as Batman. You had Two-Face, you had Riddler. Like, yes, there's things from that movie that are kind of so-so, but Jim Carrey's Riddler is fantastic. I love the jokey version of Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face. So I'm going to leave where it is at the moment in time. I'm going to leave it. Lego Batman. This is where it starts to get interesting, everybody. So I think the Lego movies are fine. I think they're fine. I've never been one to be absolutely blown away by them. I think they're okay. And that goes for both the Lego movies as well. I've seen Lego 1, Lego 2, and then I've seen Lego Batman. I haven't seen any of the like the Ninjago films or any of those. So I'm going to shock the world. And I'm going to put Lego Batman underneath Batman Forever. Yeah, I did it. And for those of you seeing the rankings next to the films, that's because those are the ones that are actually logged. So I have never actually logged Batman Forever on my Letterboxd or Returns or Batman and Robin. So that's why it looks like that. But if I were to give it a rating, I would probably give it a 3 out of 5 is what I would give it, because I was young when those movies came out. So I was only 3 when it came out, but I watched them, when I got to a point. And so there's a little bit of love there, just not like the most love. Okay, The Flash. It's no secret here on this channel. It's no secret on A Certain Point of View, and it's no secret on Apocalypse that I could not stand this movie. That I thought it was an absolute mess. That I thought the writing was awful. I thought the portrayal of Flash was very, very bad. And while I loved seeing Michael Keaton back as Batman, the final moments of the character I could not stand, which is why you see a 2.5 ranking there. And so that means it's going to go right underneath the Lego Batman. Hate to break it to you. I'm sorry. All right. So how many are on here? Actually, let me do this. Let me scoot up. Oh my God, there's a lot more than I thought. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 14 live action Batman movies. And yes, I am including Lego Batman in that as well. So far at 14, I have Suicide Squad, 13, The Flash, 12, the Lego Batman, and 11, Batman Forever. Now we get to Zack Snyder's Justice League, which obviously for the majority of people is probably very, very high. It is much, much better than the theatrical cut. It is. It is 10 times better than the theatrical cut. It's exactly what Zack Snyder envisioned. It's what he wanted from the start. It's everything that movie should have been. But I still have issues with it. I do. There's a lot of great moments, but there's also a lot of moments that I don't care for. And that's mainly because I've never been a massive fan of Zack Snyder as a filmmaker in general. I don't think he's very good. The Rebel Moon movies on Netflix are proving that. He has a couple of awesome movies that are really cool, 300 being one of them. Outside of that, I think what he has done with the DC movies has kind of hurt my soul a little bit. Yes, I do enjoy Man of Steel quite a bit, but he had the Superman character killed. So, yeah, I mean, but look, I will say this. I'm leaving where it is. I'm leaving it exactly where it is. I think it's much, much better than the 4 below it. We'll get to everything here in a little bit. But yeah, I think it's much better than everything below it. All right, let's go and move into the theatrical cut of Justice League. Yeah, let's just do this. Terrible. I will never forget the disappointment on my face when I walked out of the theater watching the theatrical cut of Justice League. We'll just call it the Joss Whedon version of Justice League. Just atrocious. Like one of the biggest fails I've ever seen regarding a major motion picture like this. So, 100% at the bottom, no question. Just a butcher of a film, and I'm so bummed that the very first Justice League live action film to ever hit the theater was this one. It's a bummer. God, sorry, my phone is going absolutely nuts right now because of this football game. Jaden Daniels apparently going off. All right, so moving on. We have ranked 6. We got 8 to go. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I would not be surprised if I get a lot of hate for this. I understand it. I've always gotten kind of flack for not liking this film. I also think this movie's a mess. And I'm sorry if you love it. I'm not hating. If you love it, I won't hate on this film because I know that there's a lot of people out there that absolutely love this film. But I do not like how the film is formatted. I think the movie feels like it's 6 movies in one. And it's very, very frustrating to watch at times because it was marketed as this big event, right? And granted, the fight between Batman and Superman is great, but it's 5 minutes of the movie. And it takes like 2.5 hours to get there. Honestly, one of the bigger film disappointments I can remember over the last decade. I remember being very, very excited for this movie. Right, we had just come off of Man of Steel. I remember the announcement at San Diego Comic-Con that blew the doors off of Hall H, and everyone was saying DC's back. They get it. They're here. They're fully back. But to me, the decisions that were made in the movie were very frustrating because it was supposed to be a Superman sequel. And we never got a Superman sequel because this is a Batman movie. This is a Batman movie. Through and through. It starts with Batman and it ends with Batman. It is his movie from the start. And that's very frustrating because it's supposed to be Superman's movie. And the fact that you had Superman play second fiddle to Batman is very, very frustrating after the success of Man of Steel. And granted, Man of Steel didn't come off with like raving reviews. It sits at like a 55% of Rotten Tomatoes or something. But the movie, as far as audience goes, is loved. It is loved by people. So it just doesn't work for me. And again, a lot of it goes back to Zack Snyder as a filmmaker. The editing was bad. It's just bad. Like, there's some really good redeemable scenes. The Batman warehouse scene being one of them, right? The fight scene being one of them. But the fight taking 2+ hours to get there, or having Lois Lane save Superman by grabbing the kryptonite staff, and like, she shouldn't have been there. There's just a lot of things that don't work in the movie for me. I can't stand Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. The Jolly Rancher scene is just a disaster. Yeah, there's just a lot. There's a lot. Let's see. Big G, it was just DC trying to do too much too soon. I agree. I 100% agree. Andy, I think the marketing of the movie hurt it more than the actual contents of the movie. Honestly, you're not wrong, because it definitely was marketed one way than what the movie actually was. So I'm definitely not against that statement whatsoever. So for me, I'm going to put it right above The Flash, behind the Lego Batman movie. I do think it's a better movie than The Flash. But they're both a mess. They're both like a big fat mess. And it's very unfortunate because of the massive star power that are in both of them and the potential both of them had. It's very frustrating. It's like very, very frustrating, actually. All right. So we have ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 14. We are halfway through, everybody. Halfway through. And we have 2 of the biggest movies next on the list. And I will say that star rating next to Dark Knight Rises is wrong. If I were to rate the movie today, I would rate it a 4, not a 3.5. And that's just saying that I haven't seen it in a while, that I logged it a long time ago. Like, I don't know if I can't see it right now. But I haven't seen The Dark Knight Rises in quite a while. And the last time I logged it, I gave it that. I know for a fact I would rate it higher now. That movie ages very, very well. Probably one of the best, if not the best, on this entire list. Dark Knight Rises ages extremely well. Tom Hardy's Bane, obviously, right? Christian Bale's final time as his character, it's fantastic. Anne Hathaway's Catwoman, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's cop character, Gary Oldman. I mean, it's just a really, really, really strong film. So for right now, because we're leaving everything above it as haven't been ranked yet, this one will go straight to the top. Once we get to the Batman, which is the last one that has not been ranked, we'll get there. But and then following it up really quickly, The Dark Knight, right? One of the greatest films ever made, I think, in many opinion. A damn near perfect film. And it's funny, I would probably change that rating as well. If I wouldn't change that one, I would actually change another one that we'll talk about. But look, The Dark Knight is The Dark Knight. It really needs no explanation or breakdown. It's going to be at the very top within the first couple of few. So, all right, Batman Returns, Michael Keaton's sequel. Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, arguably the best Catwoman ever. Just incredible, right? Just incredible. I don't have a ranking for it yet, but because I don't have a ranking for it just yet, we're going to go and push it to the top under The Dark Knight Rises, because I do think I like Rises better. I have found out over time that I prefer the much, much more grounded, serious version of Batman than the kind of like goofy, comic-y version of him. And I'm not saying that Michael Keaton's version of the character definitely had those aspects. He was still grounded in a large part, like a very large part. But Christian Bale's Batman universe, Christopher Nolan's Batman universe is, I mean, it's as grounded as you can get. There's literally no superpowers whatsoever in that universe. So I gravitate towards those more. Because that's what I feel like the character should be and the world should be. Even though I do understand that in the comics, he has villains and characters that have those abilities, right? Like Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, or Catwoman in general, getting abilities by essentially dying via cat. But we didn't see that version in Christopher Nolan's version. She was a professional thief, a con woman, aka Catwoman. So I just relate to those, and I like those a little bit more. All right, not the most interesting. Batman and Robin. Am I forgetting one? No, I'm not forgetting one. Batman and Robin. This is it's an interesting one. Bat nipples, right? Bat nipples, Poison Ivy, Bane. Talk about jokey versions of characters. The follow-up to Batman and Robin, George Clooney. While I have a soft spot for the film because, again, I was younger when these Batman movies came out, it's just not for me, ultimately. I like aspects of it, but I don't like a lot of aspects of it. I think Schwarzenegger's Freeze is actually a lot of fun. I think Alicia Silverstone's Batgirl is actually a lot of fun. And obviously Chris O'Donnell's Robin is a lot of fun. But everything with like Bane and Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy, just kind of like especially as I watch it as I get older. The freaking silicone lips and stuff, like, come on. So for that, and it doesn't have a rank, it doesn't have a rating. So maybe one day I'll get to it. I'm gonna squeeze this in between Batman v Superman and The Flash. I just don't like those three movies on the bottom, like whatsoever. So that's I think that's a good spot for it. I would probably give it a 2.5. Is more than likely what I would give it. But a 2.5 being better than the Flash. So I think that's a good spot. Moving on to the not the original. Sorry, I skipped one. Batman Begins. Now, this is where I think a little shock factor is going to come in. So Christopher Nolan coming in his young career, right? He's done a couple of films, but he hasn't become Christopher Nolan just yet, right? Comes in, Christian Bale, kind of got a little flack for casting Christian Bale. People didn't really understand the casting. Comes in, you have Liam Hemsworth play what you think is his mentor, but he's actually Ra's al Ghul. And I'm going to shock the world. I actually prefer this film over The Dark Knight. I said it. And it's like ever so slightly. But I love this take of Batman. The origin story, the beginning of all of this for Christian Bale's version of this character. How they use him in action. Liam Hemsworth's Ra's al Ghul is incredible. If I said Chris Hemsworth, I apologize. I prefer this ever so slightly over The Dark Knight. And honestly, it kind of changes like as I watch them. If I watch The Dark Knight tomorrow, I might put it over Batman Begins. But if I watch Batman Begins tonight, I'm going to be like, yeah, no, that's the best one. I don't know why I said Chris Hemsworth. Liam Neeson. Sorry. Liam Neeson. Liam Hemsworth. That's why I said it. My bad. I don't know why I said Liam's. Oh, I was watching a movie with him earlier. My fault, guys. My fault. I was like, where did that name come from? But it's because I was watching a movie with him earlier and subconsciously. Anyway, I put Batman Begins at this moment in time over The Dark Knight and over The Dark Knight Rises. And look, we all know that Nolan's Batman trilogy is like a perfect trilogy. But to me, the perfect trilogy is Begins, Dark Knight Rises. So, but that can all change in the a slight second. So, all right, let's go and get to the OG Batman, Mr. Michael Keaton. And I will say, I didn't mention this up top, but I'm not including Adam West's Batman movies because I've never seen them. So I just want to make sure of that. To me, the first ever is Michael Keaton's Batman. Adam West is the original. He's the absolute OG, but I've never seen them, so I can't include them on this list. But going to Michael Keaton's version of Batman, the original, the 1989, with that incredible theme song. It's 100% one of the best. Absolutely no question. I would not argue against anyone that has this as their favorite or their best. Like, no question. I totally get that. But for me, it falls right behind The Dark Knight. I do think a age factor plays a little bit into this. Just what the capability of filmmaking was back then. But that does not mean it's not good, because Jack Nicholson's Joker is perfection. Like perfection. So, 1989 Batman ranks it at number 3 right now. All right, the big boy. I mean, look, I said it up top. It's no secret here. The Batman is number 1. I think it's the best version of this character so far. It is the most comic accurate. Robert Pattinson understands the moral dilemma that Bruce Wayne goes through on a daily basis, especially as a young Bruce Wayne, right? Because I don't know if it was year 1 or year 2, but we saw him very, very early on in his career, and he understood how to play that version of the character. And then you spend 2.5, 240 hours with him. And you get to the very end with that monologue where he accepts his role as this protector. Matt Reeves is a phenomenal filmmaker. He did the Planet of the Apes films, Dawn and War. You all know how much I love those. It's honestly a perfect Batman movie in my eyes. And the sequel is going to have a very, very large test to be better than this one. But I'm very excited with the possibilities and where it could be headed, because there's some very, very exciting potential that movie has regarding who's involved and what it could be telling. So, all right, real quick, Paul Sally. I have fond memories of seeing Batman Begins in a theater with nobody else in attendance except for my dad and I. The origin story of my favorite comic book character, Perfection. Yeah, look, the deepest origin story of Batman so far, arguably. Going to the League of Shadows, seeing that firsthand, right? Ra's al Ghul, the whole thing. Really perfectly told in my eyes. And I don't think it'll be able to be topped. All right, we have one left. We have Batman Returns and... Oh, no, I think I already ranked Batman Returns. We're done. There we go. There's my list. Boom. All 14 movies ranked. Let me go ahead and add the ranked numbers here. There is 1 through 14. You can't see them all on one screen, but there we go. Oh, you guys can actually. I have a little pop-up bar on mine that you guys can't see, which is great. Okay, so let's go ahead and look over this. I'll count them down from 14, and we'll talk about my live-action Batman movie ranking, including the Lego movie. So coming in at 14, we have Justice League, the theatrical version, Joss Whedon cut. At 13, we have Suicide Squad. 12, we have The Flash, the most recent of the bunch. 11, we have Batman and Robin. 10, we have Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. 9, we have the Lego Batman movie. 8, we have Batman Forever. 7, we have Zack Snyder's Justice League. 6, we have Batman Returns. 5, The Dark Knight Rises. 4, Batman 1989. We have The Dark Knight at number 3. Batman Begins at number 2. And number 1 is The Batman. The most recent purely Batman film with him in the lead. Robert Pattinson's Batman. Pretty decent list, I must say. I mean, I know there's a bunch in there that would probably be rotated back and forth. Mainly The Dark Knight. I know for a fact a lot of people would move back and forth, which is okay. But I'm very happy with where that is. I think it's a really, really solid list. Andy said, so we have 1, 3, and 5 as the same. So the Batman, the Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises. The rest are quite different. Interesting. Okay. John Pierce said solid list. Thank you. And Boo said quick thoughts on Mask of the Phantasm. Funny you mentioned that. I have never seen Mask of the Phantasm. I know. Maybe I will do a better late than never TikTok review for Mask of the Phantasm, because I've never seen it. And I know many people say it's arguably their favorite Batman movie of all time, like animation and live action. So I might have to do one. I'll add that to the list. I honestly keep forgetting to watch it. Like, we've talked about it so many times over the years, but I keep forgetting that I need to watch it. And so maybe it being the Halloween season and maybe it's the perfect time to watch it. So, I have never seen Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Shocker. All right. Before we wrap it up, quick thoughts here on my recommendation of the week. I'm just going to remove this window. Oh, wait. I got to save that. Duh. Let me go ahead and save this Batman list real quick. just so it's in there. All right. I could do an anime list one day, Booze, but that would be a lot. That's a lot of movies. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, look, every week, if you have not joined me before, first of all, thank you so much for being here and lasting this long. But I do a weekly recommendation where I recommend a movie or a television show to watch that I love, has become available on streaming, or that I just think that you should watch. And this week, I am recommending Peaky Blinders, the Netflix BBC show starring Cillian Murphy, as well as a number of other names that have been featured in the show, including Tom Hardy. Peaky Blinders is available on Netflix. It's a 6-season show, but don't worry, there's not 12, 15 episodes a season. There's only like 6, maybe 8 episodes a season. They usually run an hour to an hour and a half. Like I mentioned, it's a BBC show, but Curtis is saying it. Tommy fucking Shelby and the Peaky Blinders. And the reason why I am recommending this today, not that it's coming right now, but there is a finale film in development right now that will be the final addition to this franchise. So we will have 6 seasons of Peaky Blinders plus a finale film with Cillian Murphy, with Barry Keoghan, with Rebecca Ferguson, and the remaining cast from Peaky Blinders. Unbelievable talent in this project. And the show is absolutely fantastic. It is so, so good. If you don't know what it is, so the Peaky Blinders, they are essentially an English gang, for lack of a better term, but very, very old school back in the day, like 1920s status. Probably different, not exactly 1920s, but like 100 years ago. And they're very, very deep in England, and they have by far the strongest English accents you will ever hear in your entire life, and it makes the show brilliant. Cillian Murphy has been in it from the beginning. He's the main character. He plays Tommy Shelby, the head of the house, of the Shelby family. And the Peaky Blinders specifically, the reason why is because you can see the hat that he wears. They have razor blades in their hat that they use as essentially weapons. And they call themselves the Peaky Blinders. So it's the Peaky Blinder gang. And Cillian Murphy's Tommy Shelby is the head of that gang. Comes into contact with a lot of different characters, and it's just fantastic. It's so, so good. It's available on Netflix. It's available on Netflix to watch right now. You can binge it. You will be hooked within, an episode or 2. I promise. My 2-episode rule that I mentioned earlier, you will be hooked. I guarantee it. If you want a great drama-based show with some action, great characters, and just something that's gonna like blow your socks off, watch Peaky Blinders. You will not be disappointed. I promise you. It is high quality content. And like I said, there's a film coming out, and it's the perfect time to watch it before the movie comes out, because I believe it's being filmed right now, if not very, very soon. And like I mentioned, Barry Keoghan and Rebecca Ferguson have joined the franchise and are in that film, which they weren't in the series. They're in the movie alongside Cillian Murphy. So that's very, very exciting. So yeah, that's my recommendation this week. Peaky Blinders on Netflix. Yeah, that's gonna wrap it up, everybody. Awesome show. Great content tonight. Great topics. Great conversations. Thank you guys so much for being here. Again, I have been drinking Larceny, small batch, Larceny 92 proof. Honestly, I'm very surprised. It's been very rare for me to find like a really, really good whiskey bourbon at this price. I got it for $25. $25, and it is very good. It's a very, very good bourbon. Now, of course, they have other bourbons that are a little bit more expensive, but for a $25 bottle, I mean, I'm not disappointed whatsoever. So go ahead and check it out. Larceny Whiskey Bourbon, Kentucky Straight Bourbon, John F. Fitzgerald Larceny. I got the small batch. They have a bunch of other versions. This is the barrel proof right here. You can check that one out with the black label. I got the white label. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining me as always on a weekly basis. I'll be back next week, hopefully with some non-comic book related topics. I know there's some big movies coming out that I'm very excited to see. Hopefully I get a chance to see them. Things like Gladiator 2 and some other big ones that are non-comic book stuff. So crossing my fingers for that. But for now, I appreciate you guys being here on a weekly basis. It's truly humbling to be here and have you guys here with me and just conversing. Honestly, just conversing with me on stuff I love talking about. So I appreciate, especially for the couple of you who have not appeared here before. I hope I see you guys back. I would love to have you guys back talking, whether it's comic book stuff or not. So if you guys want to see a ranking, let me know. I would love to do more rankings. So if there's a specific character, topic, franchise, whatever, let me know. I will happily do one. But for now, that will close out to the show tonight. Again, thank you guys for being here. Have a great week. It's a Monday, so I can say have a great week. We have a long week ahead of us, but I hope everyone is staying safe and you're in a great place in your life and having a good time. So I appreciate you all for being here. Have a great rest of your night. Have a great week, and I will catch you guys next time. Night, guys.